everybody, welcome back to our channel and welcome back to Memorial May, where we are going around my area of Melbourne, Florida and checking out some historical markers and sites all over town every single day in the month of May. Right now I have just pulled up to a very old pioneer cemetery called the Houston Pioneer Cemetery. It's in Eau Gallie, which is right on the waterfront of the lagoon, which is what separates the mainland of Melbourne, Florida from where I live, Indian Harbor Beach. And I'm very excited about this. I love exploring cemeteries, especially old ones. And I can't wait to show you this, and then I can't wait to learn more about the family who's buried here. I want to apologize if I'm a little bit blustery and sweaty. It is a very hot but windy day here in Florida, and I can't keep my hair and my hat under control. But I'm having a great time going out and learning about this area, and I can't wait to share it with you. Let's go.
Today's adventure takes us to the district of Eau Gallie, which is a section of northeastern Melbourne, Florida, located at the edge of the Indian River Lagoon. There are many historical markers in Eau Gallie, probably enough for me to film all 31 of our Memorial May videos just in Eau Gallie alone, but today we are specifically looking for a historical place called the Houston Pioneer Cemetery. Many of the original settlers of Eau Gallie are buried here. Eau Gallie originally developed as a small coastal town along the Indian River on the Florida East Coast. In 1859, the U.S. Army sent John Carroll Houston IV to conduct a Seminole Indian census. Arriving in the Indian River area, Houston fell in love with its beauty and named the area Arlington after a community near Jacksonville where he had once lived. He took a leave of absence and applied for a soldier's land grant. Houston traveled to the area of Eau Gallie with his sons and 10 enslaved Africans. His wife joined him a year later when he had completed clearing the land and building a cabin. The area changed very little during the Civil War. The Houstons operated a refuge and staging area for blockade runners transporting goods from the Indian River to the St. Johns River during the Civil War. Houston's son, also named John, was captured in 1864 for running the blockade. John Carroll Houston served as a Brevard County Commissioner during the Reconstruction era from 1864 until 1874 and established the second post office of Brevard County in 1871. The Houston family served as hosts and guides for hunting and fishing expeditions for wealthy northern sportsmen and naturalists in the late 1860s and 1870s. It was customary in those days to bury the dead on family property. Thus, this cemetery was established in 1883 with the death of Samuel Houston, son of John Carroll and Mary Virginia Houston, at the age of 26. John and Mary Virginia are buried here, as well as other family members and multiple children of the Braddock, Roche, and Young families that the Houston daughters had married into. Meanwhile, the settlement of Eau Gallie was developing around the Houston's homestead of Arlington. Former Lieutenant Governor William Henry Gleason founded Eau Gallie in 1869 as he made his way to Arlington from Miami. Gleason acquired land consisting of the entire area from the Indian River Lagoon to Lake Washington, about 30 square miles. Eau Gallie is commonly said to mean rocky water since coquina rocks were found in the area. While eau does mean water in French, Gallie is not a French word and may be derived from galet, which means pebble in French. Some attribute it to a Chippewa word. However, Chippewa speakers lived along the northern border of the United States near Canada. Eau Gallie went on to have a colorful history and rival its nearby neighboring town. The Kentucky Military Institute wintered in Eau Gallie from 1907 to 1921. In 1920, the population had increased to about 500 people, making Eau Gallie approximately the same size as its nearby town of Melbourne. Eau Gallie was an independent city in Brevard County from 1860 until 1969, when the residents of Eau Gallie and Melbourne voted to merge their governments. The name and identity of Eau Gallie persists in a number of local entities and was used by the Eau Gallie Arts District Main Street, a fully accredited Florida Main Street program since 2010. The Houston Pioneer Cemetery is a historic cemetery in Eau Gallie located within the Rossiter Public Park off of Highland Avenue. There are many historic parks and homesteads in this district, all of which I would love to cover at a later date if it's possible. But for now, let me just tell you that there are about 34 historic markers in the district of Eau Gallie altogether. This cemetery includes the graves of some of the original settlers of Eau Gallie, such as John Carroll Houston III and his wife Mary Virginia Houston. John Carroll Houston IV is buried here also. Currently, there are 12 gravestones remaining in this cemetery. The 12 gravestones that remain today represent these bodies. Samuel L. Houston, 1856 to 1883. Samuel was 26 when he died. He was the son of John and Mary Houston. John Carroll Houston III, 1816 to 1885. John died at age 69 and was the first settler of Arlington, which became absorbed as a part of Eau Gallie. Mary Virginia Houston, 1823 to 1894. Mary died at the age of 70, the wife of John Carroll Houston. Bonnie Houston, 1899 to 1900. Bonnie only lived to be about 6 months old, the daughter of George Charlie Houston and Beulah May Kinneard. Maud Bertha Young, 1902 to 1904. Maud was the daughter of Charles Young and Mary Houston Young. Susan E. Houston, 1841 to 1909. Mary lived to be 67 and was the daughter-in-law of John and Mary Houston, married to their son John Houston. Maudina Bell Braddock. Maudina died before her first birthday, the daughter of Braddock and Houston. There are 5 children of W.R. and A.L. Rush buried around a single headstone in this cemetery also. An infant son, a daughter named Mary, who died at age 1.5 years old, an infant daughter, another daughter who died before her first birthday, and Earl Leroy Rush, a final son who lived less than a month after he was born. In April of 2010, a ground-penetrating radar survey was conducted and performed by John J. Schultz and Joanna Fletcher from the Department of Anthropology at the University of Central Florida. The results of their study concluded 18 anomalies that were marked during the surveys and 16 additional anomalies that were detected after the data had been processed. All of these anomalies were similar in depth and size to the hyperbolas created by the marked graves and appeared to be located within existing rows of graves. These anomalies may also represent natural subsurface features such as tree roots. They suspect that the anomalies in the north and northeast areas of the cemetery are most likely due to tree roots since they are located near existing trees. There are numerous other anomalies found in existing rows, and they suspect that these are probably representative of unmarked graves. They concluded that there could possibly be at least as many as 20 unmarked graves in total. However, there is no way to confirm this without invasive testing such as probing, and the decision was made not to proceed with disturbing the graves at this time.
All right, guys, what did you think? Wasn't that beautiful? I absolutely love Spanish moss. I think I've said that 100 times on this channel. I love Spanish moss, and I think the fact that this cemetery is just so shady and these trees have so much Spanish moss hanging off of them just right over the tombstones is just so peaceful and beautiful. If I were to be buried in the ground, that's what I would want. Some beautiful shade and Spanish moss over top of my cemetery. I think these people, these families are resting beautifully in peace and undisturbed. I stayed here and filmed as long as I could, but actually the landscaping crew was coming in to beautify their graves even more. I probably should have waited about an hour to come back, but I don't know. I kind of enjoyed just the raw feeling of the natural trees and some of the limbs and things that have blown in there, because that's just real. That's just Florida. Time moves on and things change, but these memories have clearly not been forgotten. They have a historical marker, and this is a protected area, so what a beautiful way to rest in peace. I really enjoyed this one. I enjoy cemeteries a lot, and I do think that there may be a series on this channel coming up where I just go and explore a bunch of cemeteries, because that is my jam. I love going to cemeteries. Anyway, I hope you enjoyed this video. I hope you enjoyed coming along for some adventures. Memorial May. There's a video every single day this month. So there's going to be 31 historical sites in Melbourne, Florida. If you want to check them out, I will be covering as many of them as I possibly can. I'll see you guys another day in another adventure. Bye, everybody.